Hi there, and welcome to our channel. We are the Paradoox. We're all about helping CG artists around the world, from digital fashion to texturing and rendering. We have got you covered. In today's video, we will learn how to make a douchebag neck t-shirt in Marvelous Designer, change its topology, and finally, make materials for it. So, are you ready to unlock your imagination to the next level? Subscribe now. Let's get started. How to make a realistic t-shirt on Marvelous Designer. Step 1. Collect reference images. Before starting to create a realistic t-shirt on Marvelous Designer, it's important to collect reference images of real t-shirts. These images will help you understand the details of the fabric, seams, stitches, and textures of a real t-shirt, which you can then replicate in your Marvelous Designer project. Step 2. Create a new project. Open Marvelous Designer and create a new project. Choose the avatar you want to use and set up the workspace according to your preferences. Step 3. Import a base avatar. Click on the avatar button in the top toolbar and choose a base avatar to work with. This avatar will provide the basic body shape and size for the t-shirt. Step 4. Create a new pattern. Click on the pattern button in the top toolbar and choose t-shirt from the drop-down menu. Adjust the size and shape of the pattern to match the base avatar. Step 5. Add seams and stitches. Select the t-shirt pattern and click on the Edit Pattern button in the top toolbar. Use the Add Point and Add Segment tools to create seams and stitches on the pattern, based on the reference images you collected. Step 6. Adjust the seams and stitches. You can adjust the seams and stitches by selecting them and dragging the control points, or using the Properties window to adjust the measurements. Make sure the seams and stitches are evenly spaced and follow the contours of the t-shirt pattern. Step 7. Simulate the fabric. Click on the Simulate button in the top toolbar to simulate the fabric. Adjust the fabric properties as desired, such as stiffness, elasticity, and thickness. Use the reference images to guide your fabric simulation settings, as different types of fabrics will have different physical properties. Step 8. Add textures. Click on the Texture button in the top toolbar and choose a texture for the fabric. Adjust the texture scale and orientation as desired. Use the reference images to guide your texture settings, as different types of fabrics will have different surface textures. Step 9. Add details. To make the t-shirt look more realistic, you can add details such as pockets, buttons, logos, and tags. Use the reference images to guide your detail placement and sizing. To make the material, we must first export the clothes from Marvelous Designer, but before that, it needs a series of preparations. These changes cause us to have no problem when outputting and importing in Substance Painter. Adjusting the UV is the most important thing we can do. We apply the material on the UV of the garment, so we need the output of our work to be unwrapped. You can use Unwrap specialized software to do this, but I'm doing it here in Marvelous because I don't want to complicate things too much. To do this, at the top, change the toolbar to UV Editor to enter the Unwrap toolbar. So far, no automatic unwrap tool has been added to this version of Marvelous Designer, so we have to manually place each of the clusters in UV. There are several things to consider. If the symmetrical paste is used when making clothes, it is necessary that when making UV bonded clusters, it should be completely mirror. Otherwise, when making normal material, the fabric in that series of parts is made in the opposite direction. You can set the unwrap type based on UDIM and set the whole clusters on 2 or more UV screens. In this case, each of the clusters will be placed in a larger size and the texture will be placed on it with higher quality. The larger the clusters, the more UV space they take up and the higher the quality of the material. Try to adjust the clusters so that they are as large as possible in UV. If it is necessary to have several clusters of higher quality separately, we should increase the size of these clusters, and it is better to choose for parts that do not need high quality and reduce the size of their clusters. There should be more space for the rest of the clusters. This method optimizes the system and higher quality textures when making materials. When making UV, care must be taken that the clusters do not cross the UV boundary line and that the clusters do not overlap. Save the output as OBJ without characters. Select the single object mode and choose one of the 3 modes: thin weld, thin unweld, and thick based on our needs. Thick mode in thick parts. Its UV is not defined. So in the case of thick output, it is better to define UV thickness separately for other parts in that software. UV is applied to this output, but it is not set as UDIMA, and we need to identify each of the UVs and define it as a poly group so that we can create material on each of the UVs separately. Now it's time to start materializing. Open the Substance Painter. If we have a model without thickness, it is better to change the type of shader so that the normals appear on both sides of our screen. Now we see in which of the polygroups we specified. It is applied as a texture list. Pay attention to the size of the bake maps, and not all of them need to be in their largest size. After we bake all the parts, we start making materials by creating layers. We start by determining a general color for the clothes, and for more details, we can add the mask and generators, as well as the procedures, and combine them using blending modes to achieve the desired result in producing the original color. The same process can be done for other sections. For example, for fabric details and protrusions in its layer, activate height and add a special texture to produce the desired material. And we can make big changes in them by using level and filters. The warp filter is used to create disorder and imbalance in the environment. This filter can be used so that the material is not homogeneous. Other filters, such as blur, sharpness, bevel, etc., can also be used, and by combining these, we can achieve the desired material. To add clearer noises and irregularities in the material and add fine and messy details, it is better to use noise textures or grunge and adjust them manually. There is another type of this detail called a smart mask, which cleverly creates a series of details and irregularities based on bake maps. Using these items is very useful in some situations, but it is not good to overdo it. Using generators is also very useful. Generators such as dirt and fiber, automatic stitches, and UV borders are very useful and are used in many projects. You can also use the smart materials in the software itself and change it to your desired material by turning off and on its layers and changing them. Ordinary materials also exist, which are widely used in the construction of the basic material base. And in some cases, simple materials are used and gradually become a professional material through a process. After finishing the materialization, you can add sewing lines on your fabric with generators such as auto stitch. You can also add custom layers by adding a paint layer manually and with different brushes on the fabric. Now the material is finished, and the next step is to output the textures. Because we do the rendering process in Arnold, we set the template to Arnold, and if we needed opacity or illumination maps, we had to add it manually to the outputs, and finally output the textures. We enter Maya and enter the low poly model into the studio, and after placing the camera and adjusting the lights, we start importing textures, and in the hypershader, by creating an AI standard surface, we start connecting textures to each of our parts. Different nodes may be used, including Bump 2D, Displacement Shader, Divide. Then we attribute the made material to the model. We start testing the renderings, and in case of any problem in the light or material, we go to the relevant section and correct it to reach the desired light or material. Thanks for watching Paradoox. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel for more tutorials. If you have any questions, let me know in the comment section. May the magic of imagination continue to inspire us and bring joy to those who experience our creations.